evening, everybody. Hey, thank you for joining me. My name is Inbaal. I'm a psychic, tarot reader, and witch, and I'm right here on the Bigfoot Outlaw Network. And I have such a treat for you. It's going to blow your minds. But before we go into my incredible surprise, let me just explain what we do here. This is the Bigfoot Outlaw Network. We are a channel chock full of esoteric programming. We have programs about ghosts, Bigfoots, UFOs, psychics, and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. If you like the unseen world, you'll find it here. For the next hour, I have a phenomenal guest who is not only well respected and certified in her field, but she's actually opening her books to teaching more people. And that is what you want to pay attention to. I have the Deborah Silverman certified astrologer, a mentor at the Applied Astrology School. You can see I'm reading it because I don't want to get it wrong. It's somebody that I look up to in such a huge way. She is wise, she is compassionate, and she specializes in helping people find their purpose and live the life that they love, using astrology to find all those little details that you need in order to set your life on the path that is right just for you. I would love for you guys to put your hands together and welcome Yael Weisbach to the show. Hey!
Thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. I feel
Thank you.
Here in
It's such a dream come true to have you on here. So the show is actually very interactive. So I would like to find out everything about you. But we've also got people watching us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Twitch right now. That's not even mentioning the people that will be watching us when it all gets uploaded to the different podcasting platforms. But if anyone has a question for Yael, if you'd like to find out more about her, that is what we're doing. So I'm just going to have a quick look where the messages are coming. Yeah, messages are coming in already. That is exciting. But let's start with getting to know you in the simplest way. What got you into astrology in the first place, Yael?
So my dad, he was this kind of person who loved to read books. And we had books about every topic in our library. And since I was a young child, as soon as I learned to read, I would go and I would search for books that interest me. And there was one specific book. There was an astrology book. Somehow my dad doesn't know anything about astrology, but we have this astrology book because we had books about everything. And so I really loved there was one like encyclopedia that I really loved. That was also like the part about the planets, the solar system, that was really fascinating to me, and the astrology book. And I learned about the signs, and I had, like, it was like a really, it was in the 70s, right? It was like an old book. And then years went by. My life was started off like very challenging, and this is where the story gets like hard. My brother had leukemia. He was well after that, but he was hospitalized when I was 15 years old. I was kind of on my own. Then as soon as he healed, my mom passed away, so I was only 18. And then there was like a big argue with my dad and his stepwife and my stepmom, his wife. So it was really, really challenging. And I was all about like, I need to survive. I need to make money. So I completely left, my passion for astrology and all these like esoteric things. And I became an accountant, a certified accountant. And I had a tech career for 12 years. And then, something was in me telling me, you're not in the right place. You have to do something. You have to change. Um, I got really depressed at a certain point. I dealt with very heavy depression. I hope this is not a too long answer to your question, right? Because you asked me. Okay.
No, I'm curious, and I'm going to flash up some of the messages that are coming in because people are loving that backstory. Because I think anything worth having comes with, with a really strong lead towards
Yeah.
it, which is really how what you teach people in the end. So we're going to get to that as
Yeah.
well. But
Yeah.
yeah, so you've got, so after your
So after
sort
my
of long
depression,
tech career, yeah.
yeah, and I had to shift. So I decided to become a yoga teacher. I co-owned a yoga studio, and it was like a dream come true. I couldn't believe it was happening to me. I was so excited, but it still felt not exactly where I need to be, because I felt that the physical part was not so interesting to me. And the anatomy, the understanding of the physical body, I was much more interested in human psychology. I was much more interested in understanding what motivated people, why people behaved the way they did. And I wanted to help people more through a conversation and like helping them. And I did actually try to go to also a psychotherapy program, and I didn't find myself there, because like just sitting and agreeing and not talking was not for me. Obviously, I love to talk, I love to share, I feel like I have a lot to share with people. And then I was in my 40s. I just reached 40, and I traveled to Boulder, Colorado. And I was like, I feel I need some guidance. Maybe I'll go to an astrologer. And I had a friend that I stayed with, and he said, there is a very famous astrologer right here in that block. Her name is Deborah Silverman. Do you want to meet her? She's Sting's astrologer. She was Madonna's astrologer. She worked with the most like famous people. And I'm like, sure, of course I want to. So, so he hooked us up, and I remember going to her house. And like usually when I used to see like astrologers or tarot readers, they were always like they didn't look like normal people, right? Like they
Yeah.
were like these like very on the edge of society kind of people, like very weird. And it was the first time I came there, and she was like with yoga clothes, and she was beautiful, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. And then we went to and we had a reading, and she said some really profound things that were it was really it's people think like, oh, like you go to an astrologer, she told me about like past life. No, she told me that I needed to do the laundry. It was really shocking. It was like she brought me back. She told me I was responsible. And I was like, what are you talking about? I just broke all my savings. I wanted to move to the States. I was completely responsible with money. I kept doing these yoga workshops. And she's like, no, you're very responsible. And then I was like, you know what? When my mom died, I took care of my brothers, my younger brothers. I stepped into her role, and I was very responsible, and I am very responsible when it comes to my work. And I realized she connected me with some parts of me that I completely neglected or didn't see, that were really missing in me. And as soon as I aligned with who I really was, magic started happening. I met my soulmate. We got married. I had my son. We moved to like all my dreams started coming true. And part of it was obviously, I took Deborah's school as soon as I had my son, and he was like 18 months old, so I could take her school. And then when we came to the States, I got the certification with her. And yeah, and then, I live my dream.
That's incredible. So really sort of the story of hardship stopped when you had the guidance to open your heart to who you actually were, and then everything fell into place as if by magic.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the hardship stops, right? Because the hardship never does, right?
No.
And that's where I feel like, and it's important for me to emphasize this point, because I feel that part of the problem that I see and have been, the fact that I have been a yoga teacher, and I was also a lot into Buddhism, and I did lots of meditation retreats, and I taught Buddhism and I taught meditation to people, and then I shifted to astrology and all these spiritual practices that mostly derive from Buddhism and yoga. Most of the people, astrology doesn't, but many people who come to astrologers in the beginning, now I see a shift. I see people coming from all walks of life. I had a firefighter. I had people who have dump trucks for garbage. Like, I had people from all walks of life as clients. But initially we got, and the majority of people are people who practice yoga and Buddhism, and there is a concept that, in Buddhism there are the four noble truths, and the fourth noble truth is that you can escape, you can stop suffering, right? You can become happy. And I feel that that is one of the problems that I see with people, because people expect the hardship to be gone and the
Yeah.
magic to start. And then when the hardship continues, they feel like they're failing, that there's something wrong with me. Everyone else got it. Everyone else is having fun. Everyone else are so spiritual, and they wake up in the morning and they're so grateful, and they're bliss, live out of bliss constantly. And it's only me who goes through hardship, and I don't understand why. And if anyone listens to that right now, please know, hardship is part of life, right? Like,
Yeah.
even today I have hardship, but yes, there was definitely a shift. And even though I have hardship today, it's not like I feel that I love my life. That's where I see the difference. I love my life. I love where I am. I love my hardship. I
Yeah.
genuinely
I
love my hardship.
I think that's really interesting because there will always be death and there will always be disappointments and there will always be splits and you won't ace every job interview you go to. But there's a huge difference between thinking, I mess everything up. Everything is a disaster because I am a disaster. And between thinking, well, I'm thankful for whatever the experience has taught me. I'm giving myself the space to feel those emotions and even to wallow a little bit. Wallowing is underrated, even to wallow a little bit in those emotions. And then when I'm ready, I'll step forward from them. And still, overall, I'm an okay person. And I appreciate my okay life. That's really interesting because I have Sagittarius moon. So everything is sort of very superlative, either problems are big or problems don't exist anymore. But that's just sort of my way of processing things. But I think the way that you displayed it is so much more relatable, realistic, and also like genuine.
Yeah. And I
Let me
feel
flash.
also,
Sorry.
sorry,
No, no, go ahead.
that there is the difference also. I would like, I'm just realizing it now as we speak, that, there was, I think, this point in life was from being lost to being guided. Like,
Right.
today I always feel guided. Like, before that I felt lost. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, how I was, like, life was disappointing. Life was like, I'm not supposed to be. I didn't, I really wanted a family. I was 40. I didn't know if I'll have a child. I didn't know if I'll get it. Like, I was like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And today I know I am where I'm supposed to be. So also, like you said, accepting, like, when we're faking things and we're saying, like, oh, I'm so grateful and all my challenges are a blessing in disguise. Sometimes if you don't really feel that, and we're just saying that, that's not helpful.
Yeah. Let me just flash up some messages that have come. First of all, housekeeping. Grizzly, who owns the channel, says you can support me by sending stars. Stars help me earn money to make more content. all of this goodness is coming at you free of charge. So if you can send stars now, it will be probably fair for me to reveal right now that I have no idea what sending stars is, but if you can, do. Kay Dye is saying, hey, and good day to all. Roger Blair is saying, howdy. Kay Dye is saying, I'm excited and interesting how astrology has also increased in attention in many ways. So I think that's an interesting thing to turn to in a moment. Mort says, hello. Kay, Kim, everybody's greeting each other with, is it pictures of ice cream? Oh, no, it's a feather. It's cute. And Kay says, once was lost and now I'm found, and each layer, lesson, repeat. So I think it's actually, I know it's like a little bit beside it, but I think it's actually a really interesting conversation that you started. That I think when we were small, we're like a similar age. I think I'm a little bit elder to you, but when we were small, anyone who was esoteric or on the outside was kind of separate to society. And what you're describing with Deborah Silverman is something that I've also sort of consciously been really passionate about. Not that the exterior is important, but the exterior projects something. And so for people from the spiritual community to, at the very least, appear to mingle in everyday society, I think sort of gives more options and more relatability again. So now that you teach and now that you kind of open yourself to welcoming people, who do you see coming to you? Do you see people coming to you that are more of the mainstream? Do you see people coming to your lessons that are more sort of still in the phase of being lost?
All stages of people, like really,
Right.
that's what I said. I had from all walks of life, as I said, police officers, doctors, like many students in med school, like kind of waking up, like calling,
Yeah.
like this is wrong, what we're doing is wrong, we want to shift, we want to, how do we do this, do we stay in the system, do we come out? And I see, but lots of people, in all ages, all stages. And the biggest question that I get is, what is my purpose? What did I come to do? Like, people really ask me that most, more than anything. Like, people also want to know about love, but I'm not a fortune teller. I do
Yeah.
not foresee the future. This is not the type of astrology that I do. I can help people. I'm also a relationship astrology reader. So, when people have relationship, I can help them. And in various relationships, it can be also a mother and a child, and, like parents with children, or siblings, or friends, but mainly romantic relationship. I have a lot of experience in the romantic field, and being married with my husband for almost 12 years now. So I love doing that. Um, but mainly when people come to me, and about the love, also, I wanted to say that I can help people understand what stands in their way, what is their gift, and what are the challenges, and what are they attracted to, and and if there is any conflict sometimes between their sexual desires and their romantic desires, right? And we can, or their emotional well-being, so we can work on that aspect and bring them into alignment so that they attract the right people into their lives. But mainly, most of the people who come to me ask the question, what is my purpose? What did I come here to do? Or do I do the thing that I came here to do?
Yeah. And I saw a reel that you've posted on Instagram very recently. Actually, let me flash up what your Instagram handle is. Is it Yael Astrologer? Yael Astrology.
Real astrology.
Yael. Is there a dot?
No, I'm not sure. I think so.
Wait, let me check. Let me check. Let me check. I think maybe no dot. Um, sorry. Sorry, guys. Just
Yeah,
making sure.
yes, there is dot. Yael dot astrology.
Yeah, Yael Astrology. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, yeah, Yael Astrology. I thought so. Um, Instagram. Right. So I'm going to flash that on the screenio. Right. So I saw a reel that you did recently, and that was a conversation, well, like a conversation with yourself about the midhaven and how that is kind of the purpose, but also how it's linked to like the opposite and what drove you there. And I found that so fascinating. Is that sort of the heart of what you teach?
So there, I'm a Gemini, so there are two hearts to what I teach, or maybe more. But yes. So like the heart of what I teach is to help people live the life they love. Okay, but major part of it is finding their purpose, right? Because when you feel, like we said, like getting this direction, feeling that you're not just roaming around, or sometimes people leave with the feeling like they have a financial position, right? And they feel like, oh, I want to be a yoga teacher, I want to be an astrologer, I want to do something spiritual, I don't want to be an interior designer. I had a client, she was an interior designer, she loved what she did, but she constantly felt like she had to do something more spiritual or something different, that it was too superficial. And sometimes my job is to tell her, you do exactly what you came here to do. This is your job,
Wow.
this is your purpose. And that was such a relief for her. She's like, oh, okay. Like, people think like, oh, there is something spiritual, I need to do something spiritual. No, everyone has, like, some people, being accountant is their spiritual path, right?
Absolutely. For some people, being a mom is their spiritual path, and they kind of think, but anyone can be that. But you say, yeah, but not like you, not in
Exactly.
a purposeful, aligned way.
Yeah. So the purpose is kind of like the beginning, right? The beginning of where I start working with people. First of all, let's align you with your purpose, because the purpose, and that's the it's so interesting to me that not many astrologers talk about these points that I mentioned and you brought up right now, the midheaven and the childhood. Like, people come to me and they know their signs and they know everything, in the houses and everything, and then when I talk about their midheaven and their childhood, it's like, what are you talking about? Because really, it's not a mainstream conversation, and hopefully, I'm making it more mainstream. But for me, because as I mentioned in the beginning, I went through a long journey finding my purpose. I had so many careers, so many jobs. I remember sitting with my psychotherapist one day and crying, and I was like, why am I not this person who knew what she wanted to do and she was 20 and or 12 and started her career? Like, why do I have to change all the time? It's so annoying. And it was like, that's who you are. But then when I started learning astrology, I discovered that my midheaven, which is the midheaven, is the highest point on the ecliptic at the moment of our birth. Okay, so this is
Right.
where, like, it's the middle of the heaven, it's like
Yeah.
where
Peak.
everything culminates,
Yeah.
right? This is a point right above us. Like, if we look at the chart, in the middle of the chart, there this is where we are. This is us in the moment of our birth and in our birth bed. And then around us is how the sky was laid out, right?
Yeah.
And on top of it, the point that was kind of like shining on us was the midheaven. And this is where this represents our career and life purpose. This
Right.
is how we came to share our gifts with the world. And this is also our public persona. Now, I think the reason why it's not so much in astrologers' conversation is because 50 years ago, most people didn't have public personas.
Right. And now
Now,
everyone does.
exactly. Exactly. So social media really changed things for us, and we all have public personas now. So, and we can see that we're different on social media than we are with our friends, than we are with our
Totally,
partners, right? Like it's a completely different personality. So the
totally different. Yes. Is that normal? Yeah.
yes, of course, because the sun represents how you are. So where is your sun? What is your sun sign in Bal?
Myself, I'm Pisces.
You're Pisces.
Yeah,
Okay,
dimples,
so
dimples, round face, romantic hair. Of course, Pisces.
yeah, of course, a tarot reader and a psychic. Okay, say no more. So,
Never had a different. There was never a different plan.
and do you know where your moon is? I should have
Yeah.
taken.
So my moon is in Sagittarius,
Is it the third
unfortunately,
and you're rising? Why such? Why unfortunately it's such a great moon?
because honestly, my I have Libra rising. So between the Pisces and the Libra rising, could have been like a really chilled out person, but no, in comes the Sagittarius moon. And then, I'm the kind of person that will say something really inappropriate to strangers because I think it's funny, or I'll get annoyed about something really, really ridiculous and rant for hours. That does not come out on social media. You're not going to catch that on Instagram. But if
Yeah,
you sit with
because
me for a
that's your
coffee, you're going to get all of it.
yeah. So that's your moon. And do you know where your midheaven is?
So, funnily enough, I Googled it yesterday because I had no idea. And it is ridiculous because I'm a self taught astrologer and I literally sort of make most of my income commenting on star signs. Had no idea what my midheaven was. So, I popped on. Wait, this is don't jump before you get to the end of the story. So I popped on, put my details, and it came up with Capricorn. Now you're thinking it can't be Capricorn because she's Pisces, right? You would be correct. But I was like, oh my God, Capricorn, that's great because, I love business and I don't really have anything else. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, I put AM instead of PM. And it is, in fact, Cancer.
Cancer. Cancer. Okay. Yeah. So this is so interesting. Okay. So Cancer is, in public persona. This is, by the way, Deborah Silverman has that, and Britney Spears and Jennifer Aniston. These are personalities that in public, we feel very like we have such a big heart for them. Like we feel for them, right? Like we love them. We feel like they're our family. These are people who feel that the world is their home and the home is their world, and they feel family with everyone, right? Like you feel
Yeah,
with me, right? Like immediately we're family.
immediately.
So this is and why is it like that? It relates to the childhood. Okay, so right opposite the midheaven. So let me just continue the story and then we'll come back to yours because it's very interesting conversation for you. So for me, my midheaven is in Aries. And first of all, the first thing that I learned about Aries midheaven is that people with Aries midheaven tend to change their careers. They like to initiate, they like to change. So I was like, oh, okay. So that's why I'm not this, person who knew exactly what I wanted to be in a young age. It gave me permission. And I remember I had another client who came to me and he had an insurance career and he was a Taurus. So he expected of himself to stay in the same company, in the same career for like 30 years, and it didn't work out. And he was devastated. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but your midheaven is in Aries. You came here to change your careers. And just this permission made him feel, oh, okay,
Relieved.
yes, I'm fine. So that was one thing that was kind of like, and also I don't have a lot of fire in my chart. Aries is a fire sign. So people with Aries, they're bold, they're courageous, they go out there, they do what they want. I don't have fire. Fire is my missing element. So I was trying to understand, why do I have this, like, why am I so bold in my career? Why do I do all these, like, why am I not afraid to just jump into the water and do all these things? To co-own a yoga studio as soon as I graduated from yoga school, like, was I crazy? Yes, I was. But this is my Aries midheaven. But then the more interesting thing came up. So I learned that right opposite from our midheaven, there is the childhood line. And my childhood, because I'm in Aries, my childhood is in Libra. And the Libra childhood means that I did not feel the most loved in my home. That
Right.
I felt always that there was the love was more naturally given to other people, or sometimes it's other passions of the parents. That you don't
That you
naturally,
had to earn the love, that it
yes.
wasn't unconditional.
And then you become a pleaser, right? You want
Right.
to please, you want to be nice, you want to be kind. This is the Libra quality, right? Like, I want to be so sweet to my parents so that they will pay attention to me or love me. And that was really true in my childhood. I have, as I mentioned, I have two younger brothers, and my middle brother was definitely my mom's favorite, and it was very obvious. And especially as an older, it's a very typical position for people who are elder children, and
Right.
they have a sibling that comes like very few years after them, so that they kind of like, they had,
Never got a chance to be the baby.
they were in the center of attention. They wanted to be the center of attention, and then it was taken away from them.
Like
Something
early,
like
so
that. Yeah,
early.
very early. So I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And like, it's not that I didn't know that before, but suddenly, like, and it reframed the story, and it explained to me why I was so much in need to feel special in my career. Why did I have this, like, I needed what I didn't get from at home, this feeling that I was special. I needed to get out there in my career, in my public persona.
Right. So you needed the applause, and any new beginning stepping up to the front of the stage, ta-da, will get you the applause. Wow, that's incredible, because I'm really obsessed with polarity. And
Yes,
that is the very, I think it's my Libra rising, but it's the very tangible, very physical expression of polarity.
yes, yes, it
Wow.
is. So that's the beauty of it. And then I realized, like, oh, this childhood story is playing a role in my life. And sometimes I get stuck in it because I need people's approval. I need to feel, I need to get, like, people to like me. But then I need to always step up and say, I'm bold, and I do what I want to do, and I'm courageous, and I don't necessarily need to be liked, but I need to be special. I need to be recognized, right? It's different, right? It's
Yeah.
not so much I need to be individualistic in my career. So that was a huge understanding. And then I started reading people's charts and paying attention to this conversation, and and speaking about this childhood, it was so profound. Like, people suddenly saw their childhood from a different lens, a new lens, and it
Yeah.
reframed the story, because some people didn't want to kind of blame their parents, so they beautified their childhood in a way that it's not about blaming our parents at any, that's not the point. But the point is that we understand the subconscious psychology, the psychological patterns that are still activating us and are holding us back from reaching up to the top of our chart,
Yeah.
right?
That's amazing. And so the life purpose is climbing up there from the depths of babyhood.
Yeah, yeah.
How incredible. And so in your classes, what do you teach? Do you teach people to calculate it? Do you teach people how to make the best of their journey? How do people approach that? In because you've got a class starting next week.
Yes. So I have a course that is called Rise Up to Your Purpose, which is what I explain why I call it Rise Up, because we do need to rise up. We do need to rise up from our childhood. So we start with understanding our childhood and reframing it and understanding it through the lens of astrology, through our IC. Then in the second class, we understand our purpose. What is this midheaven? What does it mean to have a midheaven in Aries? What does it mean to have a midheaven in Cancer? Okay, what did we come here to do? And sometimes it's just about, you know, doing what you do in aligning yourself with a certain intention or vibration. For example, for you to understand that you're a Cancer midheaven means that you can bring more of your maternal nature and more of your sensitivity into your work. For you to cry in public, it's good, it's okay. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to be sensitive. So sometimes it's not about, like, you know what you want to do, right? Like, you know, for writers, you know, for anyone who is creative, you know, there is what do you bring into your creativity? What are you tuning in? So we're understanding the purpose, okay? And then in the third class, there is another very important point that we need to look at when we're looking for what we want to do and how we fulfill ourselves. And it's the rising sign. So the rising sign is our soul's choice for this life. This is how we see it in esoteric astrology. This is the astrology that I practice. Some people say that it's psychological astrology, but the idea of the rising sign as our soul's choice is an esoteric idea that came through Alice Bailey, and this is the idea that once we are in our soul, we align with our soul, we're unstoppable. We can do whatever we want. The planets are not, they don't push us around anymore.
Right.
But this is the personal soul's choice. Our public soul's choice, the higher self, or how we came to share our gifts with the world, this is the public soul, right, choice. This is the midheaven. And we have to take both of them into consideration. Like, you can't be fulfilled just by being in your midheaven while ignoring your rising sign. You have to also take your rising sign into consideration. And most midheavens have more than one option for rising sign. And each rising sign would give a different flavor, a different emphasis to the midheaven. So this is a very, very important conversation. And then at the end of it, you kind of have a roadmap. You're directed, right? You have a direction because you know, okay, this is my childhood, this is my midheaven, this is my rising sign. And how do I come? And both the midheaven and the ascendant are points that we need to grow into. They're not given to us. We need
Right.
to work to get there, right? So it's kind of like for you, you know, you mentioned you're a Libra rising. Your nature is to be blunt, is to sometimes, you know, like to not, but for you to be more, you know, like to be politically correct like a Libra would, you know, is a work that you need to do. It's not natural for you. You're
No.
blunt because, you know, in the nature you are in Aries, you're right opposite from it, and you need to move into it. So then you have the roadmap and you feel guided, you feel directed, like I said, being lost, being found, right? Like moving into this feeling of, okay, I know where I'm going, I know what the work that I need to do. And it's also, you know, a lot of the childhood work that I see out there is, you know, we talk about childhood, we enable the wound, we talk about it, but talking and talking and talking, you know, it can really benefit. I went myself through psychotherapy, as I mentioned, but we also need to act. We need to step out of it. And this is something that no psychotherapist will tell you, right? Like, you need to do something. You need to move out of your childhood. You need to step out of it, right? So as an astrologer, I'm so blessed that I feel like I can give people guidance and direction, and not just talk and talk and talk about things, but actually activate them and empower them to make the change they want to see in their life.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that because, like you said, you looked into being a therapist yourself and it just felt too silent. And I found the same. I did only a basic course in counseling. And I loved getting the listening skills because I'm an impatient person. So I loved obtaining the listening skills. I really felt like they helped me as a person and they helped me in my work. But the sitting and not telling people the solution, it was absolutely not for me. No, I'm not waiting for you to speak for 6 months until you find the next step. I have next step for you here on the table. Let's do the next step. Let's get going. So you're a very solution-based person.
Yeah, very solution based and very practical.
Yeah.
Like really, I want, because as I described my path, I did what I needed to do. I changed my life, I transformed my life, and today I'm happy that I live the life, as I said, that I love. And it's not, I don't need to fake gratitude, right? And this is
Wow.
a very important differentiation, because before I practiced gratitude, but it was kind of like fake it until you make it, and then I
Yeah.
made it, right? So I really, and I see how much this work helps my clients, my students, right? And as I said, I have a long journey for people after that, but this is kind of like, this is the starting point, because most people today feel lost about their purpose, and they feel like, because we are in a time where we kind of have all the options open to us,
Yeah.
right? And we want to do, and we have all these ideas of what might be good for us, but then if we don't have the direction, we keep on, and when we don't, we move from one thing to another, and then it gives us this feeling of like, oh, I'm not good at anything, and then it doesn't help us. So sometimes we need direction, and what can direct us better than the wisdom of our own birth chart? This is I see the birth chart as a treasure map. This is
Yeah.
a treasure map, and when we understand the map, we can find the treasure.
Yeah. I've got a question. I'm really, really curious. I was thinking how to ask it because you were saying that sometimes people come to you and they are actually living their purpose. But I was thinking, well, it actually came from me thinking, are there any like really bad purposes? And it made me think of my friend's dad, who used to be an addict and then started working as a therapist and a facilitator for addicts to come out of their addiction. So he really just tweaked the direction by a teeny tiny amount and changed it completely. So I'm really curious whether people come to you that are almost there and they feel like it's not there, and you only have to move them a tiny bit in a way that makes all the difference.
Yeah, first of all, coming out of an addiction is not a tiny bit, it's a lot.
No, I suppose. No,
Yeah,
but it would be in the same place astrologically, though, wouldn't it?
always, 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 the wound is always a part of our purpose.
Right.
The
Exactly.
wound is always a part of our purpose. Like I said, like my path, my journey, not finding myself for so many years, doing all these things that made me depressed. This was part of my, this is why I teach today people to find their purpose, because
Yeah.
it took me, if I remember when I was a yoga teacher. So there was a moment where I understood that because I was a very flexible person and I could do things very easily, I was not a good yoga teacher.
Right.
Because
You found it too
right,
easy.
yeah, I didn't know. I remember I demonstrated like one asana, and someone asked me, and what do people with bones do? And I was like, okay. So it's, and then I realized, but with the, as I said, the psychological path that I went through, and the hardships of my life, and finding my purpose, finding my love, stepping out of addiction, stepping out of depression, all these things that are my wounds, then now I come with all this experience, and I can help people, because I've been there. I was there. I was a single woman looking for love, doing all, like, getting my heart broken all the time, getting into the wrong relationships, being in abusive relationships. I was there, right? I was in all the wrong jobs, So this helps me help people when they are in this place, in these places, right? So
Yeah,
wherever the wound is always our purpose. And yes, some people, like I said, some people, they need to hear you're right where you are. You don't even need to
yeah.
move. And sometimes that's the answer. And sometimes they need to kind of, this is an instruction I always give. If this is your wound, find a way. And maybe this person that you're mentioning, the dad, he maybe has a Scorpio midheaven. Scorpio is about like stepping out of addiction, stepping out of fear, empowering yourself, the issues of life and death, right? So it's the human psychology. So if I would be very interested if his birth information, and if we can pull his chart and see, that would be very, very suitable for him to be with a Scorpio midheaven, with this path that he chose.
That's amazing. I'm really curious. We actually have a question from Kay, who is Pisces, and she says she's Capricorn rising and Cancer slash Leo moon. And she'd love to know how that all blends together.
So Capricorn rising, do you know your midheaven, Kay? And Cancer, what does that mean, Cancer, Leo moon? Is it on the cusp?
I'm guessing it means in between. Yeah, we've got, she put her date of birth, but I'm assuming the that if you don't have your time of birth, then that can be confusing.
Yeah.
Date of birth is 12th of March
Oh, like
7.
what, 7?
I don't know. Is it 70 something, Kay, or were you in fact born in 2007? Which is it? Give us more information. Info, please.
Yeah, that's my son's birthday, March 12th.
Oh, what a blessing. Um,
Eh, oh,
she
yeah. So
says
this is
that
not, I don't do Vedic astrology.
oh, the Vedic.
I do Western
Yeah.
astrology.
I
Yeah.
love when people can do the Vedic because it's so fascinating. Oh, there we go. Oh, I think I've got the information. 12th of March 87, 2:50
58.
a.m.
Where? You need to know where.
Where were you born, Kay? She says no coincidence. It was only it was only different and applies. Sorry, I thought it said apples. That's why I was giggling. Um, Kay, tell us when.
Englewood,
Oh,
in New
Englewood,
Jersey.
New Jersey. Let's find where that would be. Astro.com. I'm going to find that while you tell people exactly how to find you for your classes.
Yeah. So, as I said, the course that is coming up, Rise Up to Your Purpose. We have 3 live weekly classes starting May 7th. And then there are 2 Q&A sessions with me where you get to work with your charts and you get to see how we work with other people's charts. So the course is really for anyone who is looking for the purpose, but also if you are an astrologer, if you are if you are a therapist, if you work with people, if you are a life coach, if you are a psychic, whatever it is that you do, and if you help people, this information can really help you empower people and help them find their purpose. So it's a really fascinating course. And by the way, I taught this course last year in cooperation with Deborah Silverman. So we had about 400 people in the course, and we got amazing feedbacks. and it's really powerful stuff. And as I said, like people said that it changed their lives. People who came there, usually they're very versed in astrology, but you really don't have to be. But I'm just saying that even the people who are very familiar with astrology, like you, Inbal, right? Like this conversation is not something that most astrologers talk about. So it brings this information that is so relevant for us today.
Yeah, I think it is so relevant because, like you say, it's, you know, it's a world of opportunity, and it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut. You still have to get there. You still, but at least you know where you're going. Um, right. So Kay's midheaven is in fact Scorpio, which already got a little bit of a little bit of airtime already. So
Yeah.
we've
And what
got,
are her sun, moon, and rising?
so Pisces sun, Capricorn rising, and I'm going to jump and look to see whether it's Cancer or Leo moon. Although if it's so early in the day, it's like 2:50 a.m. Bet my money on Cancer. But yeah, the thingy that I used to use all the time to get my information put a paywall, and I am not a paywall kind of person.
Yeah. Okay.
Not my vibe. So I'm gonna find her.
Yeah, no, no problem. But we're not going to analyze all your chart right
Yeah.
now. Just curious. But Capricorn rising and Scorpio midheaven is one of the most powerful combinations there are, because these are two very ambitious, very goal oriented signs, right? Capricorn is very strategic. They know what they want and they go after it, but they do need transformation in their career at some point. And Capricorn is all about career and success. Now, how does it work with the Pisces? Because Pisces just wants to dream, right? And if your moon is in Cancer, so there is this emotional, watery personality. So then you need to kind of take the emotional connection, the your spiritual abilities, and make something really ambitious with that, right? Like there has to be ambitiousness. You have to step up and to move into a place where you're doing something that you're really proud of in your work. But this is a combination of professional athletes, for example, have this combo, because it's a lot of like a Capricorn
Commitment.
rising. The rising sign is also our physical body, and Capricorn rising are very strong in their bodies. It's a very physical, strong body. And Scorpio is all about like embodiment, right? It's like the sign of living in the body, like full on, right? So yeah, very powerful combination.
Wow, that's incredible. Kate, let us know if that makes sense to you. Now, while Kate hopefully types up whether she is in fact strong and driven, but still very emotional, she actually says she has heard of yeah, I
Debra,
think now I hear
yeah.
her name. We did a talk a while back. Odd and not, right? Nothing is too odd. But yeah, we're literally running out of time, Yael. So, is there a message that you want to get out there? Is there a specific person that you feel needs to step into your course now to, you know, to create the balance?
Yeah, basically anyone who feels they want to know what's their purpose or want to feel more fulfilled in their life. Okay, because this, as I said, like even if you don't change your career, understanding and getting the sense of direction and fulfillment and knowing what energy you want to bring into your work, and really and understanding your childhood and the path that you need to do from your childhood, and understanding your soul choice and how you bring it all together is such a powerful. So basically it's for almost anyone, you know. So I really invite you. You can find, do you want me to put the link for the registration here?
Yeah. So if you tell me it, I'll type it and send it to screen because I've got the controls, kind of love it, and then it'll send the message to all the different platforms that are watching us to the comments as well.
So here I'll send it to you, but in behind the scenes, right? And then you can share it with everyone. And you can go there and you get all the information and you can sign up. I sent it to you in the WhatsApp.
Oh, right. The WhatsApp, she is here, the Instagram is here, and the thingy is there. But yeah, I'll just copy, and we've got a few messages before we finish while I do the typing. Oh, there we go. I can see it now. I'll copy it in a second. So I've got from Kay, obviously, saying thanks so very much. Totally makes sense. Talking, and yes, here all being said, yes, it resonates and appreciated always. I'm going to take myself off the screen for a second, just so that if you want, you can take a screenshot of yourself by yourself in front of that. So I'm just flashing myself off, and I'll be on in a moment. Do a smile, cheese. And I'm back, right? So you can pause it and screenshot it. And and Mark says 5 minutes to go. Mark is very organized for me. So I'm putting the link, if I can break into my WhatsApp. I'm putting the link at the bottom. So it's https this thing, Yael Astrology kartra.com/page.
And copy paste.
Right. I can do this. I'm doing it the slow way, and also happy with that. There we go.
Perfect. Yeah. So and anyone also can go to my Instagram, and there is the link there. And if you have any questions, you can contact me on Instagram, Yael.astrology, and I'd love to correspond with you, answer your questions. Just
free. And just for everybody else, you also offer one-on-one consultations, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can check on my Instagram. There are links to everything. There is also my website, yaelastrology.com, that you can see here. So you're welcome. And there are all the readings there and everything. And you're very welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's such a dream come true for me to have you here. I really appreciate you taking your time and being so educational and so awesome as well. Everybody, applause to Yael. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching us live, you'll be able to rewatch, share with your friends on YouTube, on Facebook, on any of our platforms. And if you're listening or watching on any of the podcasting platforms afterwards, make sure you come and find us as Bigfoot Outlaw on Facebook, Bigfoot Outlaw on YouTube, and I think also on Twitch, but I don't really know how that works. Have a wonderful night, a wonderful evening, and I hope to see everybody again soon. Bye. Thank you, Yael. Bye.
Thank you.